What is a struct? A struct is a data type that is made up of multiple other data types. So what I mean by that is, well, it's called a composite data type. And that is, we're going to put it struct as the beginning part, right? The data type section. And that is telling the system that, oh, we're going to be making our own new data type, and we're going to have variables inside of that data type. So it's a way of grouping things together. Structs have been around for a long time, and actually they were part of C originally, and they're going to kind of remind you of, if you know object-oriented programming at all, they are like kind of like the precursor to object-oriented programming. And just so you realize that C++ kind of extended their functionality. So structs act differently in C versus C++. So just be aware of that. We're not going to do a lot with structs this week, and the next week but we're using it as a stepping stone for learning about classes next week. So let's get started. So with these structs, one of the main things that you need to be aware of is that structs should be defined inside of your header files. So we're going to right click on the item here and say new, and we're going to create a new source file and a new header file. And I'm going to do them both at the same time. I'm going to say create an associated, and you can see I have a CPP and an HPP here, so I'm happy. And I'm just going to say, call this dragon. And the reason why is because I'm going to use dragons as my example. And you should always name your header files and your implementation files after the structs that you are creating. So we're going to come in here and we're going to create our struct. And like I showed in the code in the slide, this is the syntax of creating a new struct. It's going to be the word struct, and then the struct name that you're going to give it with the curly braces and the members that you have in it. And you'll notice it's going to end with a curly brace and a special thing of the semicolon, right? Because semicolons signify the end of the line. At the end of your struct, you're going to need a semicolon. So we'll go back to the code. So we're going to zoom in and make it bigger just so we can read it. And so now we're going to add our struct. So we're going to say struct. So that's the keyword we need. And we're just going to make a dragon one. And we're going to have end semicolon, curly brackets, right? And it's going to end in a semicolon. And then the data inside it, we're going to add the variables that we want. So we want a variable of a string for name and an int for level. Now, right, I need to include my IO stream, so pound include IO stream. And then also using standard string. And so doing both those, that makes it all happy again. But so you can see that's it. That's the extent of declaring my variable, my struct called dragon. And if I wanted to add more variables to it, I could easily add more variables to it. Now to actually declare this and use it, right? So I've created it. Now to declare it and use it, we're going to, you would use the whatever name you gave it as the new data type that you're going to be making. And so you could have any kind of variable name after that you want. And then you're going to use what is called the dot operator. And the dot operator, so you use the variable name, dot, and then the items, the variable names from inside your function. And something to note here about the difference between C and C++ and structs versus classes that we're going to talk about next week is that this is public information. Anything that's in a struct is completely public information by default. And so that's how we could come in and get all this information. So now we have our header information here that we define our structs in. We're just going to come to our main, and we're actually going to create a dragon and put values in it. So to create a dragon, we're just going to say dragon, and we're going to say, call it a D for dragon. And you're seeing it's red, and the reason why it's red is because we haven't included the header for it, so we just need to include the header. So include, and we put it in parentheses, in quotation marks, right? Dragon.hpp. And now it's happy and it can create it. And so now we could set the variables. So we're going to say d.name, and that, so we're going to use the dot nomenclature. So d dot the name, and we're going to give it a value of Nixia. And then d dot level, we're going to give it level 35. So this is the way that you could create the variable, right? And now we have a bunch of these, and like if we wanted to create another one, we could, say d1, and so we could create another variable of d1.name equals Veilthorn, so Veilthorn, and d1.level equals 28. Right? So that's just, we could create, just like we've done all the other ones, we could do as many as we want. And if we wanted to print them, right, we could access the data just the same way, where we would just do a cout and say dragon name, and then we could put the d.name, and we could have on the next one at level and d.level. So just the same way we would with most things. We'll compile it and make sure it works. So it compiled, and then you can see, right, it printed out the Nixia at level 35. So dragon name Nixia at level 35. So in the next video, I will show how to add functions to our struct, and both constructors and functions, and how to work with those.